world that we are now creating for Peter Parker. I mean, there'll be adjuncts to it. They may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well.
So there is a chance that Tom Holland as Spider-Man will pop up somewhere
There's
over
a
there?
chance.
There's always a chance.
There's always a chance. I think one of the things that
What is good, YouTube? Warstu here. So it appears Sony and Marvel are in a major dispute about what to do with Spider-Man, and now it appears that Marvel Studios wants Spider-Man back and access to all their characters, but seeing as Sony owns the movie rights, it's not going to happen. So what is good, YouTube? Warstu here. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to never miss any of the videos. We are currently giving away Captain Marvel on Blu-ray. We will be giving away Avengers EndGame as soon as it comes out. And also we'll be giving away the Tony Stark Gauntlet, the Hasbro one, when it comes out. So we've got loads of competitions coming up in the next few weeks. And when the channel hits 100,000 subscribers, we will be giving away a PS4 Pro or an Xbox One X. All you got to do, guys, is subscribe to the channel and let me know down below why should I pick you to win the Captain Marvel Blu-ray or 4K or DVD if you still use that. So what is good? Let's get into this video. So it's a very interesting story that is developing. So recently it has been leaked. Yes, guys, leaked. That is leaked. Well, apparently it's been leaked, so let's cover it. So essentially what it is saying is if Spider-Man Far From Home does not break 1 billion, then Sony do not have to let Marvel use Spider-Man for a third movie at all, and they could literally do anything that they want with Spider-Man going forward. They could add him to Venom, they could add him anywhere. Now this makes sense, it's in the contract, there's a clause in the contract, there's always clauses in contracts, so it's got to break 1 billion. And the whole internet is thinking that that will be an easy task just because the movie made over $500 million in the first week. Well, what happens generally with movies, unless it's something astronomical like Avengers EndGame or Avengers 3, or something that really went viral and everyone is rushing out to watch it, like the second week has a massive dropout. Like the numbers will drop. So yes, financially, it did very well the first week. As you guys know, it's my favorite movie in the MCU. Yes, I know a lot of you guys going, but Warstu, Avengers Endgame, Warstu, Avengers 3. Guys, it's my opinion. It's my opinion. I will be doing a ranked video later next week if we get time. So, will it break 1 billion? Yes, sure. I've got a lot of confidence in that movie. It doesn't really appear that Sony wants the property back because as much as I love the Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire versions of Spider-Man, from a financial point of view, Sony nearly ran it into the ground. But what is interesting is there is some information that has been revealed. So essentially the reason we didn't get the Sinister Six Oscorp teaser is because Sony and Marvel could not agree. As we know, it's distributed by Sony Pictures and Columbia Pictures, so Sony has the final word on the creative direction. And obviously Marvel wanted to use Norman Osborn, but they wanted to use him in a big capacity in other things like the Dark Avengers, and they wanted him to have a solo movie potentially. But Sony will not let Marvel do this, and I think this is where the big problem came in, and that's how the post-credit scene was always going to be the MJ1 Spider-Man being exposed. I don't need to give spoiler warning, guys. It's been out over a week now. So essentially they cut something out, which could come out later down the road. But as we know, at San Diego Comic-Con, Sony will not be there. So I've recently come across some information that could be fake, it could be real. But to be honest, guys, it does sound something like that Marvel will be planning. So as you all know, Spider-Man Far From Home is on track to be a big success. Even more than Venom. Realistically, it's only got to do like another $100 million. Marvel are looking to renegotiate their deal with Sony, which realistically could have already happened, and this could be the big surprise at Comic-Con with Kevin Feige and Amos Pascal walking out. Even though she is basically Universal Pictures now, she's still overseeing the Spider-Man stuff. So essentially what this report is saying is Marvel has bigger demands. They're going to do everything very possible everything they can do to regain full creative control over Spider-Man, Venom, and all the characters Sony owns. If this happens, here's what Marvel wants to do. Now, essentially, Sony will not do this because this would have literally given control over Into Spider-Verse, Venom, Kraven the Hunter, and everyone else. So this is what they're going to have a big dispute, because Sony will not give them control to all the characters. You do not realize how many characters are involved with this Sony deal. Now, they're not asking for them to give the rights. They're asking for creative control, which literally means Sony would just kind of license it, distribute it, publish it, and Marvel would have 100% say in the storyline. So it says, Marvel plans to make 4 Spider-Man movies instead of it's just a trilogy. The first trilogy, which will end in Spider-Man 3 2021, will be the high school trilogy, and the second one will follow Peter through college. Marvel desperately wants to feature Kraven the Hunter as a Sinister Six member in Spider-Man 3, which means that his solo movie is dead. Now, what is interesting is they initially wanted Kraven the Hunter to be a part in either Black Panther 1 or Black Panther 2. Now, realistically, like I said, guys, Sony will not do this because it's a conflict of interest. It'd be the equivalent of, say, Marvel letting Captain America be in Homecoming. Oh, wait, we already did that. That's a really bad reference. So it'd be the equivalent of Marvel letting Deadpool appear in Spider-Man. It wouldn't really benefit Marvel. It would benefit Sony more. So these ideas are interesting. I believe they could come true either way, even if Sony does get the rights back. So we do know the Sinister Six was supposed to be teased, but for some reason it was pulled, maybe due to this contract. So it says Morbius, that is going to be coming out next year, really looking forward to it, will probably be the last SUMC movie, and it may go straight to Hulu instead of being released in theaters, and it will not be connected to the MCU. Don't really agree with that because they're going to bring it out in cinemas. Why would Sony release a movie straight to Hulu? Doesn't make any sense when Sony Pictures are making Morbius. Marvel has plans for Venom, but it will be a new version of Venom. Okay, why would you get rid of Tom Hardy? Just Tom Hardy's name alone pulls a massive crowd in. He's really popular with girls. That's why it was so successful in certain countries. Marvel will make Harry Osborn or Flash Thompson into the MCU version of Eddie Brock in order to make it different from the Sony version. So you're literally going to do the Spider-Man 4 version, because careful for spoilers if you've not played Spider-Man PS4. Essentially, it looks like Harry Osborn in Spider-Man PS4, that essentially he's going to be a version of Venom. In order to compensate for taking away his Venom role, Marvel is looking at a few roles for Tom Hardy in the MCU. Currently, the biggest contender as Sentry or Captain Britain. No, Sentry or Captain Britain has Henry Cavill's name screaming all over it. So like I said, guys, it's fun to go over these kind of reports and stuff, but realistically, I don't really think this is going to happen. I do think we should get the Sinister Six at some point and have Kraven the Hunter introduced. That would be cool. Marvel is developing a solo movie for Jessica Drew, aka Spider-Woman. We've spoke about this before, who will be introduced in Spider-Man 3, that may feature Silver Sable and Black Cat in supporting roles. It could recycle Sony's Silver and Black script. Guys, this is literally just Spider-Man PS4. Like, this is pretty interesting. Marvel might make the Spider-Man Sinister Six spin-off that was cancelled when they first got Spider-Man back. If so, Drew will definitely return to direct it, and it be done the same style as Suicide Squad, though it isn't likely and will be a much better film. Marvel plans to use Miles Morales in the college trilogy, and the last movie may be about Peter officially crowning Miles as his successor. Afterwards, Miles could get his own solo movie. Now let's break this down a bit. Tom Holland has said he wants to play this role for the rest of his life. Tom Holland's only 23 in real life, so he's at least got another 5 to 10 years of playing Spider-Man, unless they recast Spider-Man. So I don't think they're going to overslay Peter Parker as being the main Spider-Man. I believe Miles Morales will be coming through at some point. Then it says Marvel will leave the animated Spider-Verse franchise alone and will give it to Sony Pictures. Sony Animation, sorry. This is kind of funny because Sony owns all these characters already. Why would it say Marvel will let them? I really don't understand if this is true, guys. It's supposedly coming from an insider. I mean, guys, everyone's an insider nowadays, so this is very interesting. So guys, let me know, do you really think this is going to happen? Because obviously if the reported leak is real, this movie has to hit 1 billion in order just to keep Spider-Man inside the MCU, which is even more interesting. So it does look like everything's lined up, because there really was a Sinister Six teaser, the Oscorp building, which was going to be the Avengers Tower. They were going to replace it with the Oscorp building. So a lot of this does make sense. It still doesn't make sense to a lot of people, and a lot of, I guess you could say loosely, insiders, because my problem with like quoting insiders is they've been wrong about so many things in the past. But this report does sound very interesting. So also in the news, so I've been asked a lot of times in the last few days to talk about Nick Fury being a Skrull in Spider-Man Far From Home. So at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, it's basically revealed that Nick Fury and Maria Hill are essentially Skrulls. It's Talos and Talos' wife. And secretly, Nick Fury is on the Sword Peak doing some kind of mission with the Skrulls. So essentially, everyone is trying to say that Nick Fury died in Winter Soldier and has been a Skrull the entire time. Could this happen? Yeah, sure. Did I say Nick Fury was a Skrull before the Captain movie? Yeah, sure. So what is interesting is during the Captain Marvel movie, the Skrulls and the Kree essentially end up on Earth somehow, and the Kree stay there. So essentially, there could be a lot of Skrull, Kree, I guess you could say Kree. There could be a lot of Kree already on Earth, still be there now, obviously, to set up the secret invasion, which I do believe will be coming. Do I believe that Nick Fury was always a Skrull? Maybe, maybe not. Do you remember there was a scene in Winter Soldier? Guys, I'm doing this off the top of my head. I have no notes. Essentially, there was a scene in Winter Soldier where Nick Fury was dead, then he wasn't dead, then he kind of disappeared and he didn't show up in Civil War and all that kind of stuff. And I guess you could say a conclusion or an analogy is the reason he wasn't like there is because Nick Fury was always dead, and it was the Skrull version of that character. But then there's a simple way to debunk this theory. Why would Talos convert himself into Nick Fury, then Nick Fury be in the spaceship? So it'd be almost like the real Nick Fury was in space, the fake Nick Fury was on Earth. Now, does this mean the Nick Fury on the spaceship with the other Skrulls, does that mean that's not even Nick Fury? Last time I trusted someone, I lost an eye. That was definitely your boy Nick Fury. So there isn't really that much evidence to suggest that Nick Fury, Maria Hill was a Skrull all this time. I mean, Maria Hill does drop a line in Spider-Man Far From Home that's got a lot of people talking when she says, when Tom Holland, Spider-Man says, Doctor Strange, unavailable. I mean, that doesn't really like correspond to anything other than she's a Skrull. The same way when obviously he says Captain Marvel, and then the fake Nick Fury goes, don't invoke a name. So yeah, I can see why this kind of theory is getting a bit popular, and there's a lot of 2 and 4. Yes, he could be. Personally, do I think Nick Fury was always dead? No, I don't think he was, but he could have been. It would be interesting, but do not think if this was the case that Captain Marvel would be able to sense somehow that Nick Fury was always a Skrull, because in the comic books, I know some people read comic books, she's got something called cosmic awareness, where she's aware of cosmic beings and like the whole cosmos, so to speak. I haven't really read Marvel comics in a while, so I'm not too like up to date with the current lingo on the new kind of alliterations of Captain Marvel character. But essentially, that's kind of the cosmos, and that's the kind of the basic power she's got. She's actually a lot more powerful in the MCU than she's in the comics, but even in the comics, she is still pretty badass. There are some videos out there about like saying proof that like Nick Fury died in Winter Soldier, and yeah, I agree, disagree, so to speak, because there are 2 for and against. It would be very interesting kind of dynamic to kind of see if Nick Fury was always a Skrull. But the only issue I have with like the theories and stuff is they're going to have to explain why they faked everything. Then obviously if Nick Fury was always a Skrull, then it's kind of like, wouldn't the Skrull version Nick Fury just get rid of the eye that was scratched? But Warstu, that wouldn't make any sense. Well, I don't know, it wouldn't make any sense. I just thought I'd put it in there. So it is interesting, and there's also some other theories going around saying Nick Fury was never dusted, but we literally seen him getting post-dusted at the end of Avengers 3. So it is pretty interesting. I do believe that it's got some kind of precedence that potentially that is the case. But realistically, I just think that Nick Fury and Maria Hill were only Skrulls during Spider-Man Far From Home, but I could be wrong, I could be right. Just because I make Marvel-based content does not mean I know anything. Now, the director for Spider-Man Far From Home has come out and just said that Nick Fury was just a Skrull during Far From Home. He doesn't really have the kind of knowledge or the authority to kind of say that, especially just like the Russo bros have no authority to say anything about anything post EndGame, yet they keep coming out and saying this and saying that. I mean, they're even doing a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, which realistically, guys, I don't really think there's any reason for them to be there, but whatever. It is interesting. So, like always, guys, let me know down below. Would you prefer Marvel to get the creative direction back for Spider-Man? But it's pretty obvious, guys, that Sony will not do this. They're not going to give up something that they have that is worth a lot of money to them. But obviously Marvel makes some money from the Spider-Man toy sales anyway. That's where the real money is. So it is pretty interesting. So I'd love to know, what would you do with Spider-Man if you owned the rights to him? And do you think that Nick Fury is really a Skrull? I don't really think. I just think Marvel were tricking us, you know, with the whole toast thing. You know, when Nick Fury said he didn't like toast, then he eats toast, yeah. I just really think Marvel are trolling, and they're putting little trolly Easter eggs throughout the whole MCU for people to think that Nick Fury's really a Skrull. You know how the big reveal of Nick Fury's eye? How? Last time I trust someone, I lost an eye. Then, like, realistically, it was just Goose the cat. It's like, it's really not nothing, but some people are making it out to be more than it is. And it's an interesting topic point for videos for sure. So like always, guys, please like, subscribe and comment, and I will catch you in another video very soon. Catch you later.